Study terminology for CWNP CWDP Glossary. Data plane. The communication plane where all data frames between devices are sent. The actual workload of the wireless devices and applications are sent in the data plane. DBC. The ratio of measured power to the unmodulated carrier. dBd. Antenna gain relative to the dipole antenna. dB hertz. A measure of the bandwidth in dB. It is the ratio of the bandwidth from 1 Hz to 1 Hz used in noise power calculations. BW dB minus Hertz equals 10 log 10 BWHZ. dBi, antenna gain relative to isotropic antenna. dBm, a measure of absolute power. dBm is a dB measure power in milliwatts. BM equal 10 times log 10 PMW. dBr, dB relative is the same as dB. dBw, measure of absolute power. dBw is a dB measure of power in watts. Decibel dB is a relative measure of power. A radio gain is an example of something measured in dB. Gain is measured as the ratio of the power output P2 to the power input P1. Delay spread. The spread of delay values of the various multipath signals received. Delivery traffic indication map. Delivery traffic indication message, DTIM. DTIM beacon requires that all power-safe stations wake up for subsequent delivery of all unicast and multicast traffic. Dielectric. A material that resides between the plates of a capacitor that influences the charge storage capacity. It is plastic material inside the cables and has an effect on the cable's characteristic impedance. Differential binary phase shift keying, DBPSK, modulation scheme where bits are represented by a change in the BPSK state. No change is 0, change is 1. Differential quadrature phase shift keying, DQPSK, modulation scheme where bits are represented by a change in the QPS state. Differentiated services code point, DSCP, an IP layer QoS mechanism used to classify IP packets and prescribe handling procedures in accordance with the desired priority. Direct sequence spread spectrum, a method for spreading a modulated carrier with a chipping code. Distortion, an error condition that typically exists when an RF amplifier overamplifies input signal, which it can reliably reproduce the input signal at the new amplified power. Distributed antenna systems, DAS. A DAS can come in many varieties, but in the context of this book, a multispectrum and multi-host RF antenna system designed to host multiple types of radio technologies. Distributed coordination function, DCF. DCF is a set of functions that define how WLAN radios communicate among one another. DCF inherently has no mechanism to reserve airtime transmissions for particular stations on predetermined intervals. DCF implies that each station must perform a set of actions in order to gain access to transmit on the wireless medium. Distributed data forwarding, a method of forwarding data frames in which a WLAN architecture without having to first tunnel it back to a specific location. It is a data forwarding scheme more similar to the way Ethernet networks work today, where the traffic is bridged locally. Distributed WLAN architectures. The WLAN network architecture family, which some of the control functions, example, CAPOC functions, are implemented across a network consisting of peer entities. A wireless mesh network is an example of such architecture. Distribution service. The service that, by using association information, delivers MSDU within the distribution system. Distribution system. A system used to interconnect a set of basic service sets and integrated local area networks to create an extended service set. Distribution system devices, or system services, DSS. The set of services provided by the distribution system that enable MAC layer to transport MSDUs between the stations not in direct communication with each other over a single instance of the wireless medium. Down tilt. Downward tilting of usually a directional antenna to provide coverage closer to the antenna mounting location. Using the appropriate amount of down tilt can also minimize the RF interference from distances greater than the area of required coverage. Duplex requires to Ethernet duplex, in which a peer-to-peer configuration setting for an Ethernet link that specifies half or fold-up duplex communications. Half duplex means that only one device can transmit at a time, whereas with full duplex, each may transmit simultaneously without interference. Dynamic frequency selection, DFS. DFS is a set of behavior that is defined in the 802.11h standard, which helps avoid interference from radar when operating in the 5 GHz unibands. Dynamic transport layer security. A security protocol which is used with CAPOC to encrypt network traffic over a wired medium.